Welcome to Nazarene Israel. My name is Norman Willis, and we've been talking a lot in this video series about the gift of prophecy. What is the gift of prophecy? How do we prophesy? And why is it so important? And what we're going to see in this installment of this video series is that there's a special role that prophecy plays in unifying Yeshua's body. Before we talk about the role prophecy plays in unifying Yeshua's body, first let's recap what we've already learned. Prophecy is Strong's Hebrew Concordance, Old Testament 50:12. It's navah. It's a primitive root meaning, of course, to prophesy. But what does prophesy mean? It means to speak or even to sing by inspiration, meaning by breathing. Now there's two types we'll talk about in the next slide. One is prediction, and the other one is called simple discourse. It means it's just talking. And the way we prophesy is that we have to focus on Yeshua so that we abide in him and him in us, and then him in the Father and the Father in him. But this is a real thing. First off, we have to pray for the gift of prophecy because it's a gift. Not everyone has it. But if we have the gift of prophecy, we establish our connection to Yeshua, and then we crowd out everything else. We take every thought into captivity. Then we also take into captivity the lusts of, or crowd out, or ignore, or suppress, or whatever you want to say. We also suppress or push out the lusts of our eyes, the lusts of our flesh, and our pride. Pride will bring to mind a lot of strange thoughts, and all of these things will disrupt our ability to abide in Yeshua. If we're paying attention to the lusts of our eyes, or the lusts of our flesh, or our pride, or our stray wandering thoughts, we won't be able to hear Elohim's voice. So this is an active thing. This is establishing a connection such that we can hear, and that's how it's done. Now, there's two different types of prophecy, as Strong mentioned. The first one is called foretelling. That's what Strong's calls simple prediction. So that's the kind most people think of. That's where the prophet Moshe or Isaiah or Yirmiyahu, they will speak. They'll say, "Thus saith Yahweh," and then they predict that something will happen. That's called foretelling. But then the second type of prophecy that's actually much more common is what's called forthtelling. And that's where we're speaking forth the things of the Spirit, but without predicting anything. So this is where Moshe and Aharon go before Pharaoh and say, "Thus saith Yahweh, let my people go, that they may hold a feast to me in the wilderness." They didn't predict anything, but they're still speaking the things of Yahweh. They're talking according to the kingdom of Yahweh. They're speaking forth the things of Elohim. Well, this is a very, very important gift. And in fact, it's not possible to unify the body if people don't either have this gift or respect this gift and pay attention to it. Just as it was in the Tanakh, in the Old Testament, the people need to pay attention to the words of the prophets. So in 1 Corinthians, or Korinthim Aleph, chapter 14 and verse 1, the Apostle Shaul, or Paul, tells us to pursue love and to desire the spiritual giftings, but especially that we may prophesy. And the reason why is, again, because it's not possible to unify the body without the gift of prophecy. And in fact, it's not possible to please Elohim without it. Now, the problem is that not everyone has this gift, and this is why there has to be a structural means of compensating for the fact that not everyone has this gift. We're going to spend a lot of time in 1 Corinthians in this chapter, in this unit. So 1 Corinthians, or Korinthim Aleph, chapter 12, starting in verse 28, tells us that Elohim has appointed these in the assembly. First, apostles. Okay, so what is an apostle? An apostle is someone who has the gift of prophecy. In fact, an apostle should have all the gifts. Now, whether or not he's developed them, that's another question. But an apostle should have all the gifts, including the gift of prophecy. And in addition to the gift of prophecy, he should also have the gift of doctrine. Okay, so that's to get the gift of doctrine, you have to really have a burning desire to establish Yeshua's kingdom. It has to be the uppermost thing on your mind. That's why Yeshua says, if anyone wills to do his will, he shall know concerning the doctrine. That's something that pertains to apostles. Second, we have the gift of prophets. And again, that's someone who hears Yahweh's voice and then is able to speak according to it. He's able to articulate what he hears. Now, there's other gifts: teachers, miracles, gifts of healings, helps, administrations, and varieties of tongues. Someone who speaks in a tongue, they're able to hear the voice of Elohim, but it doesn't come out right. It comes out as gobbledygook. It comes out as some kind of junk. So that's where you need an interpreter, is to interpret the words of the one speaking in tongues so that it can edify. Because everything that Yahweh does, the purpose, as we'll see later in Ephesians 4, is to edify or to build up the body. Well, in verse 29, Shaul asks a very important question. He asks, are all apostles? Obviously not. Are all prophets? Obviously not. And this leads to a real problem that has to be solved structurally in Israel. So here in Yirmiyahu, or Jeremiah, chapter 11 and verse 3, Yahweh is speaking to Jeremiah and says to Jeremiah to say to them, this is to the house of Judah, the southern kingdom of Judah, thus says Yahweh Elohim of Israel, cursed is the man who does not obey the words of this covenant. Now that's strong language. Cursed. That's something we don't want. Absolutely don't want. He says, which I commanded your fathers in the day I brought them out of the land of Egypt from the iron furnace, saying, there's two things here. Obey my voice and do according to all that I command you. And he says, so shall you be my people, and I will be your Elohim. Now, this is something critical, and most people miss this. This is something not to be missed. What Yahweh is saying is, if we don't want to be cursed, we need to obey his voice, and we need to do according to all that he commands us. And that's how we can be his people, and he will be our Elohim. So the mistake that most people make is that most people say, oh, well, to do according to all that he commands. Let's see, that's the way we obey his voice, is to do according to everything he commands us. But there's two separate things commanded here. It's not the same. He's not repeating himself. These are two separate things. And in fact, the way we got the commandments that are written down in the Torah is because we had a prophet in the first place who was hearing the words of Yahweh Elohim and then writing them down. So there's a very special role that the prophet plays within Israel. As ought to be clear, anyone who's reading the Torah ought to understand there's a special role that the prophet plays. For example, let's take a look at the Torah. This is Parashah Nitzavim in Devarim, or Deuteronomy, chapter 29, starting in verse 10. Now, at this point, this is at the end of Moshe's time of being a prophet. Israel has already been formed. They're being called into the covenant as an ordered, organized nation. Okay, so it says, all of you stand today before Yahweh your Elohim, your leaders and your tribes, your elders and your officers, all the men of Israel. Okay, so at this particular point, you've got three separate organs. You've got Moshe with Joshua as an assistant, and he's got the 70 elders. Then you've also got the priesthood with Aharon, who's serving the priests, and the priests are serving the Levites, and the Levites are serving the people. Then you've got the 12 tribes of Israel. So you've got the 12 tribal leaders who are serving the needs of the 12 tribes, and they're all broken down according to thousands, leaders of hundreds, leaders of 50s, and leaders of 10s. So you've got a perfectly ordered and organized nation at this point, and Israel is being called into the covenant as a nation. Let's not forget that. So he says, all of you stand today before Yahweh your Elohim, your leaders and your tribes and your elders and your officers, all the men of Israel, your little ones and your wives, also the stranger who's within your camp, and from the one who cuts your wood to the one who draws your water. Okay, and you've been ordered like this, and you're being called today before Yahweh that you may enter into covenant with Yahweh your Elohim as an ordered people, and that you may enter into his oath as an ordered people, which Yahweh your Elohim makes with you today. He says that he may establish you today as a people for himself, not as a bunch of individuals, but as a people, that he may, because this is what he wants, is he wants a kingdom for his son. He wants an ordered kingdom for Yeshua. It says that he may be Elohim to you, just as he has spoken to you, and just as he has sworn to your fathers, to Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. He says, I make this covenant and this oath, not with you alone. Okay, we're not talking individuals here, but with him who stands here with us today before Yahweh our Elohim, as well as with him who is not here with us today. Now that's us. So our forefathers entered into this covenant, even though we weren't standing there. So our forefathers entered into a covenant with the nation of Israel as an ordered nation, not just a bunch of individuals, not scattered people here and there, but an ordered nation. Let's remember this as we move on. Now, what does Yeshua want? Yeshua wants a queen. What kind of a queen? He wants a Proverbs 31 bride who's going to help him build his kingdom. That's the kind of bride he wants. So in Matityahu, or Matthew chapter 28, starting in verse 18, we read the Great Commission. It says, and Yeshua came and spoke to them, saying, all authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. And how much is all? He says, go therefore and make disciples, and not just believers, but disciples in all the nations, immersing them in my name. And if we want to know why we immerse only in Yeshua's name, we have a study on that in Nazarene Scripture Studies, Volume 3. So he says, go therefore and make disciples in all the nations, immersing them in my name, and teaching them to observe, or to guard, or actually to do, be to shomer in Hebrew, to do all the things that I have commanded you. Okay, how many is all? And behold, I'm with you always, even to the end of the age. And here's something, people get this all the time. You try to talk to people about what is a disciple. Okay, so you had the 4,000 and the 5,000 and the myriads and the multitudes and the crowds and the throngs. And they all came and went. And probably every single last one of them thought of themselves as disciples. But they weren't disciples because they didn't do everything that Yeshua said to do. So out of the thousands that came and went before him, there were only 12, and we don't know how many sisters. We could say 12, but we don't know exactly. So being a disciple is a rare thing, and what it takes is a commitment to want to do all that Yeshua commands us to do. Okay. So Yeshua says we have to obey, to be disciples, we have to obey all that he has commanded us. Well, what are the things he's commanded us? We see some of the things he's commanded us in Ephesians chapter 4, starting in verse 11, where it says, and Yeshua himself, so this is something that Yeshua himself commanded. So he gave some to be apostles, that's they can hear in the Spirit, they got the gift of prophecy, but they've also got a gift for the doctrine. He gave some to be prophets, they can also hear in the Spirit and speak according to it. In addition to that, he gave some to be evangelists, some pastors, and some teachers. Why did he give these gifts? For the equipping of the saints for the work of ministry, because you need these gifts, because this is how the body grows together. For the edifying of the body of Messiah. Again, this is the building up of the body of Messiah. And how long is it supposed to last? It's supposed to last until we all come to the unity of the faith. And we're not there yet. Why did he give this gift? Because this is what helps to unify the body. This is what brings us together in the same faith. We're going to see. When we do the fivefold ministry correctly, this is how the body grows. to become a perfect man or perfect men, to become a perfect body of Messiah, to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Messiah. And people say, well, there's no more apostles. That all ended in the first century because there was only 12. Well, that's incorrect. So as we show in the Torah government study, there are 22 at least 22 apostles in the renewed covenant. So you also had Timothy, you had Barnabas, you had Apollos, you had Titus, you had lots of apostles in the renewed covenant. There's at least 22 that are named. And then here we have in Hitgalut, or Revelation chapter 18 and verse 20, we're speaking about the fall of Babylon at trumpet 7. We speak about this in the study on Revelation and the end times. And we're told to rejoice over the fall of Babylon, O heaven, and to rejoice, you set apart apostles and prophets, for Elohim has avenged you on her. Okay, so if this is still a future event, and there's no more apostles and prophets, how can this verse ever be fulfilled? So we have to have the gifts of apostles and prophets. The only thing is we have to have the true gifts of apostles and prophets and not the counterfeit gifts, which are so common. Okay, so continuing in Ephesians chapter 4, now in verse 14. Why should we do this? Why should we organize according to apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers? Why should we identify those who have these gifts, and why are they all supposed to work together at one single unified ministry? It says that we should no longer be spiritual children. Take a look at the Messianic movement today. You're going to see spiritual children tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine by the trickery of men. Because take a look at the ministers, and I don't mean to harp on the Messianic ministers, but there's some real tricksters out there. There's a bunch of ministers who are not teaching according to the fivefold ministry and who are not teaching according to the foundation of apostles and prophets. That's what Scripture calls the trickery of men and the cunning craftiness of deceitful plotting. Because like it or not, what they're doing effectively is they're not seeking to build Yeshua's ministry. They're not seeking to build Yeshua's unified kingdom. They're building their own kingdoms. And we're going to see that Yeshua considers that as treason. So if you're one of those ministers and you're seeking to do good, and the sad part is, I don't know any one of them that thinks that they're doing the wrong thing. I don't know any one of them that I've tried to talk to a lot of them. I don't know any one of them that wakes up in the morning and secretly says, he, I'm going to deceive Yahweh's people. But they're not taking into account the gift of the fivefold ministry gifts and the need to operate on the foundation of apostles and prophets. And no matter how you slice it, that's what Yahweh calls the trickery of men and the cunning craftiness of deceitful plotting, because they're not operating in brokenness. They're not listening when someone like myself comes to them and says, hey, what about the fivefold ministry? What about the foundation of apostles and prophets? And you don't get an answer back. So what's the solution? The solution is that we need to speak the truth in love. And this is a remez, or a hint. This speaks about the gift of prophecy, because that's what prophets do. The job of a prophet is to hear. So Yahweh is truth. So you hear the truth from Yahweh, who is the truth. Then you speak according to that truth, and hopefully you speak it in love. And if the prophets will do that, then we will grow up in all things into him who is our head, Yeshua Messiah. Now, back up a couple of chapters. We were just in Ephesians 4. Let's back up to Ephesians chapter 2, and we're going to see where the unity aspect comes in. So Ephesians, or Ephesim, chapter 2, starting in verse 19. It says, now therefore, he's talking to Ephraim. He's talking to the lost tribes of Israel, plus those of Judah who also went into the dispersion with them. He says, now therefore, you are now no longer strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and the members of the household of Elohim. So he's talking about Elohim's house. He tells us this house has been built on the foundation of the apostles and prophets. Okay, why is that so important? Is because it's what provides the truth. We're going to see the true worshipers need to worship both in the Spirit and in the truth. So it's the apostles and the prophets who have the gift of prophecy, who are hearing from the truth, Yahweh, and then speaking according to Yahweh's truth. Okay? So there can only be one ministry, because Yeshua doesn't have a whole bunch of different ministries. Yeshua's got one house. Yeshua's got one ministry. And Yeshua's ministry, Yeshua's temple, Yeshua's house is built on the foundation, the singular unified foundation of apostles and prophets. Yeshua Messiah himself being the chief cornerstone. And people say, well, I don't want to be part of this. Well, it's too bad. It says, in whom the whole building being fitted together, so we have to be fitted together, grows into a set apart temple in Yahweh. So the house grows into a temple, in whom you also are being built together for a dwelling place of Elohim in the Spirit. And if we take a look at the picture, so, when you have a temple is not just a heap of stones. It's not just a heap of rubble. You're going to build a temple, you've got stones, right? But you have to order them and stack them in the right way. You have to put the strongest ones on the bottom to bear the weight of the structure. Then you have the next layer of stones, and everything has to be stacked correctly. And then the stones, everything has to be put in the correct place so the ones down low can bear the weight, all the tremendous weight of that structure. And they have to be ordered and organized correctly in order to build a space inside where the people can come in to worship. You can't find a space to worship with a heap of rubble. You can't find a space to worship inside with a field strewn with a bunch of stones littered about. That's not what it's about. It's an ordered building, and it has to be built on the foundation of the apostles and prophets, with Yeshua Messiah himself being the chief cornerstone. Now, the Catholics, they have their own, effectively, temple, okay, but they haven't built it with Yeshua Messiah himself as the chief cornerstone. They've built it with the Bishop of Rome, or the Pope, being their chief cornerstone. And that's why their building is going to fall, and great will be the fall of it. Now, our job is to build the correct temple on a correct foundation of apostles and prophets, with Yeshua Messiah being the chief cornerstone. And once again, the way we do that is we dwell in Yeshua, and Yeshua in us, him and the Father in him. So submission and brokenness is the very first job for anyone who desires to be an apostle or a prophet, or to have the gift of any of the gifts is the primary job of any one of us, is to be broken, because we have our human fleshly will. We have the things that we want, and all the things that we want are at odds with the things that Elohim wants. So we have to be must fall on the stone and be broken. And that's how we make sure the stone doesn't fall on us and grind us to powder. But we have to fall and be broken before we can then be of service to him. We can use other analogies. So there's a number of different analogies. The analogy of Yeshua's body, the analogy of Yeshua's temple. There's also the analogy of the olive tree, where Yeshua is the root. You could call him the head of the corner, or the chief cornerstone, but now consider him as the root. Once again, he's what's pushing up the nutrients. He's what's pushing up the water to the rest of the tree. But then again, you still have to have something to bear the weight of the rest of the tree. So now you've got the trunk. We're going to see that that's effectively the foundation of apostles and prophets. It's also called the foundation of apostles and elders. We're going to take a look at that. But once again, you end up with a lot of people that's like, they say, I don't understand. I have the gift of the Spirit. So I know I can talk directly to Elohim, and I know he answers me, and I know he talks to me. So why do I need to answer to men? I don't get it. And it's not that they're answering to men. It's that they're answering to men who are broken and who are serving a role in Yeshua's unified temple. And that's a very different thing. So there's a lot of ministries out there where the ministers are not broken and they're not serving to build Yeshua's unified temple. But what Yeshua wants is one unified ministry. And we're commanded, as we saw in Jeremiah, we're commanded to obey Yahweh's voice lest we be cursed. And you can't, if we can't hear Yahweh's voice, how can we obey it? Unless we're listening to someone who does hear Yahweh's voice and speaks according to it. That's the difference. And that's the truth. So Yeshua speaks to the woman at the well saying, Elohim, his spirit. And those who worship must worship him not just in the spirit, but both in the spirit and in the truth. That's why we need both the spirit and the correct doctrine. That's why we need to continue to have the gift of prophets and apostles, is because the prophets hear the truth and can speak according to it, and the apostles additionally have the gift of the doctrine. They're able to put everything in order to see Yeshua's work done, to see Elohim's work done. Once again, 1 Corinthians, now this is a problem. They had the same problems in the first century that we have today, because people are people. And I think we have more so of a problem today, because the apostles, in a certain sense, they had a head start on us. Yeshua was right there. Yeshua set everything up. And then people being people, things began degenerating almost immediately about 2,000 years ago. And now here we are today, 2,000 years later, and things are very much farther degenerated. So the trick is that it's up to those of us who do love Yahweh and who do hear according to his voice to hear the truth and to begin speaking according to it, so that those sheep who hear his voice can then discern what is the true ministry and which ones are the false ones that are effectively serving as decoys. 1 Corinthians, Korinthim Aleph, chapter 1, starting in verse 10. This is the Apostle Shaul. He says, Now I plead with you, brethren. I'm pleading with you by the name of our Adon Yeshua Messiah, our Master Yeshua Messiah, that you all speak the same thing, and that there be no divisions among you, but that you be perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment. And most people go the wrong way with this. Most people say, well, so what we're going to do is then we're going to agree to disagree on anything that's important, right? So we'll all be one lovey-dovey in the spirit, and that's where the ecumenical movement comes in, and that's where a lot of people lose their crowns, is because they forget we are to be one not just in the spirit, but we are to be one in the spirit and in the truth. So we have to have the correct doctrine in addition to the spirit. He says he's pleading with us that we all speak the same thing. The only way to get that is to operate on the foundation of apostles and prophets, and that there be no divisions among us. The only way to get that is to operate on the foundation of apostles and prophets. He says, but that we be perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment. Okay, that's exactly what happened in Acts chapter 15 and also in Acts chapter 21. We're going to take a look at that in just a moment. The only way to get that in a real practical sense is to operate on the foundation of apostles and prophets. He says, for it has been declared to me concerning you, my brethren, by those of Chloe's household, that there are contentions among you. Why? Because they're not hearing Yahweh's voice. They're not speaking according to Yahweh's voice. They're not prophesying. They're speaking their own words, not Elohim's words. He says, now I say this, that each one of you says, I am of this minister, or I am of that minister, or I am of this rabbi, or, I learned a lot from this man. Or and some of us will say, oh, well, I am of Messiah, but not really. Or some say, well, I follow all of Scripture. I don't follow any ministry. But not really, because they're not built together on the foundation of apostles and prophets, are they? So we had the same situation in the first century as we have today. We have a bunch of people that don't hear Yahweh's voice, don't know what it means to hear Yahweh's voice, and then they have their own opinions. Well, what can you do for such people? And this is really a sad thing. And again, the sad part is I don't know anybody who does this on purpose. I don't know anybody who does this intentionally. But you have a lot of people in the Messianic movement today. They don't have the gift of prophecy. I don't know if they've prayed for the gift of prophecy and just haven't received it or what, or if they haven't dedicated themselves sufficiently, or they haven't fallen on the stone and been broken sufficiently. I don't know what the problem is. But apparently in the first century, people are people, of course. So in the first century, we had the exact same problem as we have today, I believe, except today we have it to a much greater extent. And that's that people are following after. So they says, I am of Shaul. Okay, well, we're supposed to imitate Shaul, but only in so much as he imitates Yeshua. And this is what happens is people then listen to this minister or that minister, but then don't go on to imitate Yeshua in a very real way, which is what is required. And if we're not able to do that, then at the very least, we need to unify on a foundation of apostles and prophets so that there is one unified ministry and we all preach according to the same doctrine and there are no doctrinal divisions between us. So he says, is Messiah divided? No. So why is Yeshua's body divided? It says, was Shaul crucified or killed for you? Or were you immersed in the name of Shaul? And then he says, well, I thank Elohim that I immersed none of you except Crispus and Gaius, lest anyone should say that I immersed in my own name, meaning that I had started my own ministry. Okay, because we don't want to start our own ministries. That's prohibited. We're all supposed to work together at Yeshua's ministry. He says, well, yes, I also immersed the household of Stephanus, but besides, I don't know whether I immersed anyone aside from that. He says something very important here in verse 17. He says, for Messiah did not send me to immerse, meaning to immerse people into his own sect, but to preach the good news of the kingdom, Yeshua's kingdom. There's one unified kingdom that needs to operate on a foundation of apostles and prophets. For Messiah did not send me to immerse, but to preach the good news, not of the kingdom, not with wisdom of words, lest the cross or the stake, if you prefer, of Messiah should be made of no effect. And what makes the cross or the stake of Messiah of no effect is when we don't go on to build one single unified ministry based on one single foundation of apostles and prophets. That's what's missing in the Messianic movement today. We can see the beginnings of this fragmentation happening in the first century. So then we take a look around us. And this is exactly what we see. We see, I like this teacher. I like Saturday Night Live ministries, or I like Passion for Part of the Truth ministries, or, I dial 911 when I have an emergency. All these different ministries that are not Yeshua's ministry. They are not the Israelite sect of the Nazarenes of Acts chapter 24 and verse 5 and Acts chapter 28 and verse 22. More to the point, they don't speak in favor of the fivefold ministry and they don't operate on the single unified foundation of apostles and prophets. And so therefore what you have effectively are counterfeit ministries. Now, I'm not speaking anything negative about the men, because the men that I know, the ministers that I know, I don't know any one of them that knows that they're doing something wrong. I don't know any one of them that's intentionally purposefully setting out to do the wrong thing. I don't believe any one of them wake up in the morning and go, I'm going to go mislead Yeshua's sheep. But they're not hearing and obeying the need to operate on the foundation of apostles and prophets. And this is exactly the case. We see the exact same thing happening in Acts chapter 15. There's a need to have no divisions between us. So in Acts chapter 15, starting in verse 1, we have the case where it says, and certain men came down from Judea and taught the brethren, unless you are circumcised according to the custom of Moshe, you cannot be saved. Okay, now, Christianity goes the wrong way with this. Christianity says that this is according to the Torah of Moshe, and that's not what it says here. It says, unless you are circumcised according to the custom of Moshe, you cannot be saved. So who this is really is this is a bunch of, I don't know whether one house or two house, but whatever they are, they're Messianic Jews. They're Talmudic, rabbinic, Messianic Jews. And as we show in the Nazarene Israel study and also in Torah government and in other places, what these are, this is what's called the sect of the Pharisees who believe. Now, if you go to the land of Israel or even in the United States, you can see these kind of believers. They're literally Talmudic, rabbinic believers. They read the Talmud, they call themselves rabbi, or they'll call someone else rabbi, and they believe literally that things need to be done according to the traditions and the teachings of the rabbis. And one of these traditions and teachings of the rabbis today is called the Giyur process, which is the Gentile conversion process. Back in the first century, it was called the custom of Moshe, or the tradition and teaching of Moshe, or the custom of Moshe, how you come into the covenant of Moshe. So what they're really saying here in verse 1 is, unless you submit to rabbinic authority, you cannot be saved. Well, of course, Shaul and Barnabas had no small dissension and dispute with them, because this, Yeshua was very against the rabbis. This is what I can never understand it. How you can have someone in today's world that calls himself a messianic rabbi. I simply don't understand it. When Yeshua, once again, we're talking about the doctrine. So, when Yeshua says, but you be not called rabbi, and people start looking for every excuse in the book to call themselves rabbi. And it's one of those things. Yes, if you look hard enough, yes, you can find ways to find excuses to get around doing what Yeshua said to do. But that's what you're doing, is you're excusing yourself from doing what Yeshua said to do. Okay, so certain men, the sect of the Pharisees who believed, the rabbinic messianics, came down from Judea and taught the brethren, unless you submit to rabbinic authority, you cannot be saved. Unless you are circumcised according to the traditions and teachings of the Talmud, you cannot be saved. Well, Shaul and Barnabas had no small dissension and dispute with them, and so what are they going to do? Because they couldn't come to an agreement. So what they determined to do, they determined that Shaul and Barnabas and certain others of them should go up to Jerusalem to the apostles and elders, to the foundation of apostles and prophets. That they should go up to Jerusalem to the apostles and elders about this question. So if you'd like to read more about this topic, I would encourage you to read the Nazarene Israel study, and then it's also in Torah Government. We explain what actually happened in Acts chapter 15. A lot of people would like to believe that the renewed covenant was written in a vacuum, and we can understand the renewed covenant without understanding first century Jewish culture. But that's not the case. What it was is, in the first century, you had a thing, well, they still have it today, it's the Sanhedrin. So the Sanhedrin is also what's called the Beit Din, or the Beit Din Gadol. So it's the large court or the large council. And this is basically what Judaism uses for their foundation of apostles and prophets. And this is what we see in Acts chapter 15, is that we see Shaul and Barnabas going up to Jerusalem to consult with the council, with the Beit Din Gadol, with the Nazarene Sanhedrin. They're going to consult with the council of apostles and prophets, here called the council of apostles and elders, about this question. And they didn't only do it in Acts chapter 15. So this is the thing. Christianity likes to believe that, a bunch of guys got together in a room and just had a big discussion, and then because everyone has the Spirit, and so everyone realized the truth, and then it was obvious to everyone. Well, that's not the case. That's not how it went. So there is a thing called we don't like to use the Greek word Sanhedrin, but there's such a thing called a Beit Din, or it's a big council or a big court. And we use that model because that's exactly what was used here in Acts chapter 15. And we see it again in Acts chapter 21. So in Acts chapter 18 and verse 18, the apostle Shaul shaved his head in Kenchrea because he'd separated his Nazirite vow. And then for 3 chapters, he proceeds on to Jerusalem so he can arrive there at the day of the Pentecost. So he arrives in Jerusalem, and Shaul and everyone, they're greeted gladly. It says, and on the following day, Shaul went in with us to Yaakov, who was the head or the Nasi, the president or the prince of the Beit Din Gadol. He was the Nasi of the Sanhedrin, and all the elders were present. So once again, we see the council of apostles and elders. We see the council of apostles and prophets, the foundation of apostles and prophets. And these are men who are taking every thought into captivity. They're connecting with Yeshua. So them and Yeshua in them, him and the Father in him. And they're being broken, continually broken. They're not hearing they're pushing aside their own thoughts, and they're listening for what it is that Elohim has to tell them. That's the goal. That's the job of any prophet or any apostle, because it's no longer about what we think. Now it's about how Elohim directs us through his Spirit. And that's how we get true unity. We get true unity because we are now unified on his Spirit or through his Spirit. And that's a very different thing to the situation the Apostle Shaul was decrying in 1 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 10. So, and you can see this happen all the time in the Messianic movement today. You can see, well, I like this teacher, or I follow that pastor, or I really like his studies, or, I get really good gleaning from this Messianic rabbi. And then somebody else pipes and says, well, I follow Yeshua, or I only obey the scriptures. But they don't really, because the scriptures tell us to unify, to have one single ministry, Yeshua's ministry, and it needs to be founded on the foundation, built on the foundation of apostles and prophets. And if it's not, it's setting up competition for Yeshua's true global kingdom, because that is the goal. That's the whole point of the exercise, is to establish a kingdom for Yeshua. And if we're not establishing a single unified kingdom for Yeshua, then we're setting up competition for Yeshua's single unified kingdom. And Elohim will not treat that nicely in the day his son returns. That's something we do not ever want to be found doing, is giving competition for Yeshua's kingdom. Well, you see people on Facebook all the time. We don't need a kingdom. We don't need a foundation of apostles and prophets. I had one brother, I never forget, I think I told this in one video I just did. I explained all these things to this one brother, what it is we're supposed to do, the importance of foundation of apostles and prophets, how the fivefold ministry gifts are all supposed to work together. And he's just like, oh, man, that just sounds like a lot of work. Yeah, I'm just, how do you explain to someone who claims to be sold out, dead to the flesh, on fire, loving Yahweh as Elohim with all of his heart, all of his soul, all of his might? He's like, man, that just sounds like a lot of work. There's going to be a huge destruction when we read the prophecies. The vast majority of Ephraim is not going to survive. The vast majority of Judah is not going to survive. We don't want to be those people. We want to be the ones who are in his will and in his favor, because we're doing his work. That's what we want. And we have true love for the brethren. So you talk about the Messianics, and it's like, well, we're just sharing the good news on Facebook. We're sharing memes, and we're liking, we're giving thumbs up, we're subscribing. Okay, let me ask you, is it building Yeshua a single unified kingdom worldwide? And is this kingdom built on the foundation of apostles and prophets? And if not, what are we doing? But I don't want to belong to an organization. I've had ministers, I'm this one minister, I'm listening to some lecture of his. He stands right up in front. He just says, I am not affiliated with any other ministry. And the crowd just like, yay! Everybody's so happy because he's not affiliated with any other ministry. So they're just so happy because his ministry is not built on the foundation of apostles and prophets. Everyone's so happy because he's not helping to build Yeshua's global unified kingdom. He's proudly disconnected from the rest of the body. He's a hand, he has no need of the foot. He's a hand, he has no need of the brain. He's a hand, he has no need of the heart Or he's a mouth, he has no need of the stomach. It's just like, how do you get through to these people? I don't know. Hopefully you make videos, and hopefully the 1 in 1,000 who truly loves Yeshua hears and understands. And the rest of them are going to go to their destruction. Because that's what Yahweh says. Cursed is the one who does not obey his voice. And this is what his voice is saying to us today, is that we're supposed to be forming one single unified kingdom for Yeshua. We're supposed to be investing our minas wisely to build a kingdom for Yeshua. So this is, and that's not what most people are doing. What most people are doing is they're seeking entertainment and fellowship. And that's all. They're meeting in someone's living room. They're reading the Torah portion. They're having a shared meal. And they're like, yay, we have fellowship. But they're not building Yeshua's single, unified, global kingdom according to true doctrine on a right foundation of apostles and prophets. And the reason why is because they don't hear Yahweh's voice, and they don't have enough sense to listen to those who do. So what we have in the movement today is we have a bunch of messianic leaders and teachers and rabbis and pastors and all sorts of things building separate ministries. And the problem here is that in Scripture, according to Yahweh, separate belief sets, those are separate nations. So the way Yahweh looks at things, separate beliefs are separate nations. Okay, he's not so concerned about our genetics. That's not the main thing. Yeah, there is a genetic component. We talk about that in the Nazarene study. It's not the main thing. But the main thing is that we all have the same belief set. And let me just say, to complete that thought, every family, every nation, every clan, as we explain in the Nazarene study, has at least some of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob's genetics. So, but the thing is, what Yahweh looks at, like with Ruth. Ruth was a Moabitess. She wasn't an Israelite. But she's in King David's lineage. She's in Yeshua's lineage because her belief was right. So that's what Yahweh looks at. So a single belief, that's a single nation. So technically, the sect of the Sadducees, that's a different nation than the sect of the Pharisees. And then we get into the whole Babylonian thing where you create Babylonian nations based on democracy, and you have different religions inside of that, and that's the whole thing. That's a whole separate nightmare. We explain that in the Revelation study. But in Scripture, a nation is defined as a single doctrine. A nation is a single belief set. That's how Yahweh looks at things. That's why Yeshua asks, when he returns, will he find the faith on the earth? Most versions translate, will he find faith on the earth? It actually says, will he find the faith on the earth? And the faith that's on the earth utilizes the fivefold ministry doctrine built on a unified foundation of apostles and prophets. Because if the organization is built on the foundation of apostles and prophets who by definition hear Yahweh's voice, then the rest of the body who isn't able to hear Yahweh's voice can still obey Yahweh's voice, and thus they do not fall prey to the curse. What kind of curse? This is what you got in the messianic mess. You don't have a foundation of apostles or prophets. You have some false apostles and you have some false prophets who are building their own kingdoms. They're building their own ministries. But once again, you've got a heap of rubble. There's no way to enter in for worship. There's no true unity. That's not pleasing to Yeshua. That's not what he wants. So the false prophets, Yeshua speaks of them in Matthew chapter 12 and verse 30. It says, he who is not with me is against me, and he who does not gather with me scatters abroad. He's talking about his single unified kingdom based on a single foundation of apostles and prophets with a single doctrine. That's what he's talking about. And if we're doing something other than that, it's effectively treason. We're effectively setting up stumbling blocks for the unaware. Don't get eaten by the wolves. You've got to be smarter than the wolf. Deuteronomy or Devarim, chapter 18 and verse 20, Yahweh says, "But the false prophet who presumes to speak a word in my name." And we're not just saying prediction. We're talking about any prophecy, speaking according to the things of Elohim, speaking according to the things of the kingdom. We're talking about forthtelling as much as foretelling. But the false prophet who presumes to speak a thing of the kingdom in Elohim's name, which he has not commanded him to speak, which also means if he gets it wrong, which also means if he's not complete, which also means if he's setting up a different ministry, which also means if he's setting up stumbling blocks for the unaware, or who speaks in the name of other false Elohim, that prophet shall die. And we're coming into a time, brothers and sisters, we're coming into the end times even now. We have to be able to see Matthew 24 knocking on the door. So here we are in the end times. What are we going to do? Are we going to do what Yeshua says to do, exactly what he says to do? Are we going to unify on a single foundation of apostles and prophets? Or are we going to do our own thing? Okay, well, we're coming into a time where disobedience is going to be punished, and I believe it's going to be punished with death. We'll talk in another place about the evil and the error of book sales, because book sales causes division. It's not what we're supposed to do. And again, that's speaking a word in his name, which Elohim has not commanded us to speak, because Elohim prohibits book sales in his word. Building separate ministries. That's definitely against Elohim's word, and not unifying on the foundation of apostles and prophets. That's against his word. These people are hirelings. That's how Scripture defines them. And again, I don't know anyone. Now, I'm sure there are ministers out there. I've seen Christian ministers in Protestantism or Catholic ministers that maybe I wouldn't doubt it, but I don't know any of these Messianic rabbis, Messianic pastors, Messianic leaders and teachers. I don't know any one of them that I would suspect of waking up in the morning and, trying to mislead people. But that's effectively what they're doing. And the way Elohim looks at things, if we mislead his people, he credits it to us as if we intended to mislead his people. That's why Yaakov or James says not to be many of us should not be teachers, because we're going to be held to a much higher standard. So, but even so, stumbling blocks need to come. We just need to be smarter than the stumbling block. We need to be smarter than the wolves, and also we need to be smarter than the hirelings. Because it says the hireling, he who is not the shepherd. Okay, he's not dwelling in Yeshua. Yeshua is not dwelling in him. How do we know this? Because the fruits are wrong. Because he's not working together to build a single unified ministry based on a single foundation of apostles and prophets. He's got his own ministry. He's doing something else. He's setting up a separate kingdom. That's a different spirit. Yeshua is not dwelling in them. Can't be. Because if Yeshua is dwelling in us, if I'm in Yeshua and Yeshua is in me, if Yeshua's spirit is truly in me, then I'm going to be doing the same things Yeshua was doing. What is Yeshua doing? Yeshua is building a single unified kingdom. So am I building a single unified kingdom based on a foundation of apostles and prophets with the fivefold ministry gifts? If so, then there's a possibility that maybe Yeshua's spirit lives in me. But if I'm not building a single unified kingdom based on a single foundation of apostles and prophets, according to the true fivefold ministry gifts, there's no possibility that Yeshua's spirit is dwelling in me. And this is something to think about when you're looking for ministries to glean from, or if you're a minister yourself, think carefully about these things. The life you save may be your own. How many ministries, how many kingdoms are we building? Something to think about. So people ask, what is my advice? My advice is, the first thing is to ask for the gift. So this is a gift that each one of us who can should cultivate. I don't know if Elohim will give you the gift or not give you the gift. But it's a gift that we should all ask for, because the Apostle Shaul tells us to desire the gifts, but especially that we may prophesy, so we may speak according to Elohim's word and not according to our own mistaken, erroneous misinterpretations of Elohim's word, which is what most of the leaders and teachers are doing. Once we receive the gift, then we focus on Yeshua and then use discipline to take every thought into captivity and block out the lusts of our eyes. Don't go looking at women. Don't go looking at cars. Don't go looking at things you'd like to have. You stay focused on Elohim. Pray for what you need and let him bring it to you. Don't let the lust of the flesh rise up. Don't think about things that would feel good. Crowd those out. Resist the devil and he will flee from you. And don't get caught up in pride. Don't think of things to justify why it's okay in your case, or thinking about how glorious it will be for you and this and that. Crowd all those thoughts out. When you're left with discipline, crowding all those thoughts out, there should be an inward focus on Yeshua and Yeshua in you, and you should feel that connection. Him and the Father in him and you and him. And then when you do that, just breathe. Simple inspiration, exhalation. Just breathe and really listen inwardly in the Spirit. And when you do that, ask Yahweh to show you which is the single ministry that he has, which is teaching the faith that was once for all delivered to the saints. And hear his voice in that. And we need to remember that Yahweh says, "Cursed is the man who does not obey the words of this covenant." And what is the covenant? The covenant is to obey his voice and also to do all the things that his voice said to do, that someone who could hear his voice wrote down. And if we will do those things, then we shall be his people, and he will be our Elohim. And if we will do those things, then there will be unity within the body of Messiah, because we are practicing and developing the gift of prophecy. Shalom.